Okay, hi everyone. So this is the video I mentioned to you in class yesterday because as I mentioned that the video that I had initially didn't necessarily line up with the changes that I made for the handout. So this is just to update that, right? Okay, so this is reviewing assignment 3, the annotated bibliography, which is going to be the third installment for the research project. And then later on, I'll show you how to integrate this part with assignment 2 once I'm done evaluating and grading assignment 2 for you. Okay. All right. So the instruction. So this is an assignment. So this assignment is a second installment of the research process. This handout is to aid you with refining your reading materials for your research project. You are to search, locate, and identify 4 peer-reviewed articles from academic journals relating to your topic to your topic for assignment for assignment to the research proposal. But also, you may also look for a chapter book to include as a source, right? So then, if anyone has a question, you don't necessarily need to read the whole book. You just need to review the chapter that you're considering to include as your source for the annotated bibliography. Okay. Be advised that non-academic writings, for example, like newspapers or magazines, will not be recognized or considered for this assignment. If a non-academic source is used, it will not receive credit for this assignment. So make sure it's an academic source. When I do the other videos on how to use JSTOR, and I think I mentioned social index or social full index and social abstracts and how to locate relevant sources for your materials. And I'll show you what I mean by peer-reviewed journals. Okay. Excuse me. All right. All right. Annotated bibliography is foundational for developing your competency over your object of study. It allows you to survey what other researchers have written about a similar topic. An annotated bibliography allows you to see how previous studies have framed their research and note how the author structures their manuscript, how they use language in conveying their ideas, observe sentence structure, how metaphors are used, and the kind of descriptions and explanations used to construct not only their thesis, but also how they present their argument. Because quality research comes from quality sources and quality work. And this sort of goes back to when briefly discussed what was it? How sociologists study society, right? Because you can't put society in a test tube. One of the videos that I wish I was able to show you guys in class was a scene from Nightmare from Before Christmas, where Jack is trying to study how to understand Christmas, right? Um, I'm I'm assuming that most of you, if not many of you, have seen this movie when you're much younger, right? And the reason why I show it is because Jack is using the scientific method to try to understand Christmas. But the problem is, and if you recall, when Jack is doing the experiments, he has like these fancy formulas and then the test tubes, beakers, and all that other stuff. And then there's a scene where he tries to make a star, but instead of creating a star, he creates a spider, right? And and that's an indication how Jack, at least in this scene, hypothetically doesn't understand the role between method and theory. Because what Jack is doing is he's trying to understand Christmas within the context of Halloween, but that's a contradiction. And that's what social theory is trying to supposedly help prevent. And also, he didn't necessarily wet it or integrated it properly with the methodology that he was using to try to understand Christmas. Right. Yeah. So like that's one of the things I wish I did share with you last week, so we could have a deeper conversation about the relationship between theory and methods, and how theory can help us actually improve methods, and methods actually can help us improve theory. Right. And that's sort of the conversation or discussion we had not too long ago about the differences between ideology and social theory. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to continue. All right. Pardon me. For this assignment, you are to look for 4 peer-review articles relating to your topic, or a chapter from a relevant book. Right, and as I mentioned, I think you could do the mixture any way you want. You could do like 3 articles and 1 chapter, or 2 chapters and 1 article, or 2 articles. You basically come up with the combination for your study, but you just want to make sure that those studies, or the sources you get, are consistent with your research topic. Okay. All right. So peer review articles come from professionally published journals such as Globalization, Social Theory, Journal for Social Psychology, and so on. Wikipedia is not a reliable source for peer review information. However, it can be a useful starting point for gathering ideas. Then follow up with reliable and valid sources. When you begin to search for articles, be sure that the articles are not older than 5 years. The reason is that research articles are continually being published, so theories, methodologies, and arguments change quickly. So it's important to keep up with new research. All right, and then the due date for this assignment is going to be Thursday, October 30th, 2025, at 11:59 p.m. So I'm going to stop it here, and then I'm going to do another recording going over the formatting.